Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the Flight Sim world. This is Viperstrike 95. Um, and today we are back with our around the world trip, day number 9. Day 8, actually. It's actually day 9 of our around the world trip. We're back here where we left off here on Friday at Cape Haitian. And today we got a pretty exciting trip for us today. We'll be checking out the historic nation of the Dominican Republic today, which makes up the other parts of the island of Hispaniola. And we got a pretty exciting little flight plan coming up for this one. We'll be visiting all sorts of places from beautiful beaches to tall mountains and historic cities. This would be definitely one of the most interesting and beautiful countries here in the entire Caribbean. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying your all's weekend. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Um, this is one of the big Sunday streams as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some pretty important stuff. So before we get started, let's go over today's flight plan. Um, so here is our flight plan for today. We're gonna take off here at Cape Haitian. First, we're going to travel from Cape Haitian. We'll make our way over to Puerto Plata. I've been to Puerto. I haven't. I've been to Amber Cove, which is this area here, which is the cruise thing that goes to the city. But we'll check out Puerto Plata. We're going to check out the historic downtown area and check it all out. Then from Puerto Plata, at the newly handcrafted Puerto Plata Airport, we'll be checking the scenery out for this. Then afterwards, we'll climb up to 11,000 feet. We'll fly over the city of Santiago de los Calaveras and make our way up to the tallest peak of the Caribbean, Pico Duarte, before making a scenic mountain landing at Constanza Airport. Mike Delta Charlie Zulu. And finally, from Constanza Airport, we'll make our way southeast into the oldest continuously inhabited European settlement in the Americas. That's right, Santo Domingo. And make a landing at Las Americas International to conclude today's flight. So like I said, we got multiple beautiful areas here. And the Dominican Republic, I did a stream over there a while back. Beautiful country. I can't wait to see what the new Caribbean World Update brings for this and this country. So before we get started, I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Good to see you, Flipper Alloy, first time in chat. Good to see you. We're now here. And Super Typhon, great to have you here as well. So the plane we're taking today is the good old de Havilland Beaver DHC-2 Beaver, which is going to be a good plane for this one. It could do cargo, it could do passengers. It's a workhorse, perfect for this kind of area right here. And it's a pretty simple plane. It can go anywhere you want. So let's get ahead and get prepared to get started. If you guys want to join on in this group flight, we're on the Southeast Asian server. We're in the Southeast Asia server. So, So the first leg is going to be about 85 nautical miles. The altitude we're going to set for the first leg is going to be a pretty low 3,000 feet. We don't really have to worry about altitude for the first half of it. But yeah, I'm currently wearing a Dominican Republic t-shirt. Yep, I got this while I was in the Dominican Republic. I got me a Dominican Republic t-shirt. A bit big on me, but I wanted to wear something appropriate for the Dominican Republic. So because I've been to this country a lot of times. I haven't checked out Puerto Plata or anything else in the area just yet. Go ahead and take off from Cape Haitian. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some pretty fun news, for sure. I'll talk a little bit more about that once we get in the air. So we're in the air right now as we speak. Definitely some important flight sim news. You guys want to mention? Definitely. There's definitely some pretty big news over this past weekend. PMDG released their new brakes and stuff again from the development. But there are some pretty big stuff revealed. First off, is Any Builds releases their newest scenery, Leeds Bradford, which is actually a place I've been actually taking a look at. Now, Leeds Bradford is located in the picturesque West Yorkshire. It serves as importantly for both domestic and international travelers to destinations like Larnaca, Malta, and Gran Canaria, thanks to airlines like Ryanair and Jet2, and their rendition features an immersive experience that goes beyond conventional, capturing the essence of this airport. Featuring great links like handcrafted ground textures, texture sets that make runways, aprons, paths, and roads appear realistic, high fidelity in terms of landslide areas, and more. And get this, it comes at 9.99 British pounds, which by US dollars is 12 US dollars, which is cheap, which is a really good price. And actually, here's the funny thing too. And here's the funny thing too about Leeds Bradford. I know I was talking about Doncaster Sheffield being our new UK hub. I did make a mention that I would really like to make the Doncaster the new UK hub. The alternative to Doncaster Sheffield beforehand was Leeds Bradford, because Leeds is larger runway than Bristol, and it's surrounded by a lot more general aviation stuff than Bristol. But I mean, Leeds is a really picturesque area. I mean, you have Peak District to the west, to the southwest is the Peak District. North, you have Yorkshire Dales, North Pennis and Lake District to the northwest, and North York Moors to the northeast. With tons of great general aviation area, and for the airliners, it is a bit bigger by about I believe about 800 feet longer. That's 6,600. That's about 800-foot longer runway. But Leeds Bradford, really beautiful airport. Thank you. Thanks, Typhon, for deleting that. As well. Thank you for deleting that, Typhon. Definitely appreciate it. And the next bit of news comes from FSDG, they're releasing another airport. This is Kefalona Airport here in Greece, offering impressive levels of detail and authenticity. Definitely another beautiful island airport in Greece. And Greece has got a ton of great airports around the area. I definitely want to do a stream over the Greek islands at some point because, like I said, I think they would be beautiful. I would like to do some VA flying in this area. Like, it'd be great. For example, I could do Hercalion to Athens or Athens to. I think I would like to make a flight between Athens to Santorini and then Santorini over to Skythios or something like that. But yeah, I would like to do something like that. But beautiful area. It's going to cost under just £20, 20 euros. Another bit of news is going to be Bluebird Simulations. They just revealed the cargo version of this thing in the FedEx livery. It looks really, really nice. It is going to be a paid expansion, but if it's going to be as good as they say it is going to be with it being a high fidelity plane, and if it ends up being as good, man, that 757 is going to be a top tier airliner, and that's going to be amazing news. I can't wait to fly the 75. Because the only cargo plane I've really been flying for that is the PMDG 737, which, don't get me wrong, the 737 cargo version works nicely. But man, that 7.5 is going to open up some really good options too. Very, very excited, as always. Field Air releases Ontario Airport in California. It's one of Southern California's key airports, located 2 east of downtown Ontario, California. It's a pivotal hub for both air and truck cargo operations in the West Coast, mainly UPS Airlines. So anyone who's been around UPS Airlines should probably know Ontario Airport. And Ontario is like the West Coast hub for UPS, featuring over 60 highly detailed building models, custom animated jetways, updated parking spot, improved taxiway, and more. Priced for less than $20 US, which isn't too bad. I know Field Air may not be the greatest, but if you like that, that's definitely a good option. And then for FS Elite, there's a bit more news on FS Elite's site. So there's a couple of interesting ones. The Flying Freaks, I did see a Murph stream about Flying Freaks, the Hughes XF11. An absolutely really cool plane. He's the one who developed the Scrapyard Monster Freeware. Definitely one of the most unique planes we've ever had in the sim. And then we have this absolutely crazy plane, featuring high detail 4K textures, error-correct autopilot, compatible with both the GNS 530 and the GTN 750, complex electrical and fuel systems, variable prop power pitch, 7 liveries, custom sound effects, and even a few Easter eggs. And I did get to see Murph fly this thing. It is definitely a very, very cool plane. Very cool plane. I got to see Murph fly it on his stream. Man, that plane has a lot of character and really cool history. It may not be the cheapest, but yeah, this plane is definitely going to be a very unique one. Which, like I said, we definitely need more unique historical planes, and I think it's definitely be there. The next interesting bit of news, and something more relevant for me at least, is Pacific Island Simulations. PacSim have released a brand new update for Reno Tahoe International, Kilo Romeo November Oscar, including several key changes, including adjusting the runways to the new designations, tweaks to heights, textures, taxiway lines, and more. In addition to this, they also added additional buildings in downtown, including the Renown Hospital and the Ramada Hotel, as well as custom jetways, wing lights, and helipad. It's really good, and like I said, from what I looked at the scenery, Reno Tahoe looks really, really good. The scenery is looking really, really good. But the reason I wanted to talk about Reno is because you see, not only is Reno right next to our current hub here at Lake Tahoe, but also I was actually thinking that in the future, for Firefly Air's sake, we might actually expand our Western United States hub and expand our presence by moving from Lake Tahoe over to Reno. And that's because I felt that Lake Tahoe is currently a bit small for the kind of operations we do here in the Western United States. So Reno, I think, would be a really good alternative. Hey, good to see you, Steve Ellis. I'm doing quite well, my dude. We're in the Dominican Republic right we speak. We did talk about a few of the news. Just talked about a few news and stuff that's been going on. But yeah, I didn't talk about that Reno Tahoe thing when I should. But yeah, I hope that maybe I can convince Bert to move to Reno because Reno Tahoe is a beautiful airport. I've done plenty of takeoffs and landings there. It's a great airport. I would really like to see it do so. So now, before we get started, we're going to go ahead and not get too carried away. Let's go ahead and talk about the Dominican Republic for a bit, which is the topic of today's flight. So the Dominican Republic is located in the island of Hispaniola. It occupies the eastern 5/8 of the island, which shares Haiti. It's one of only two Caribbean islands, along with St. Martin, that is shared by two sovereign states. It's the second largest nation of the Antilles after Cuba, and in population as well. With about 11.4 million people, the Dominican Republic, similar to the Haiti at first, had some interesting history, had a turbulent history. Um, with the Spanish colonizing the place, then it declared independence in the 1820s. Then they were annexed by Haiti. However, just like Haiti been for independence, they experienced civil wars, failed invasions, brief return to Spain's colonial status, and more. But unlike the Haitians, the Dominican Republic did far better than Haiti ever did in the later half of the 20th century, and has since become one of the wealthiest economies in North America. It's certainly the largest economy in the Caribbean and Central America, and it's one of the upper tier economies in North America, as well as being the most visited place in the Caribbean, thanks to its beaches, golf courses, and resorts. And it's home to a lot of historical landmarks that definitely make this place an absolute standout, and that's why I like to visit the Dominican Republic. I hope that I haven't done an excursion yet in the Dominican Republic, but I would like to check that out. So let's talk about the history of the Dominican Republic, shall we? So the history of the Dominican Republic starts with the Arawakan-speaking Taino moving to the island from the northeast region, was now South America, in 650 CE, and they engaged in farming, fishing, hunting, and gathering. The fierce Caribs drove them into the northeast Caribbean during much of the 15th century. During that time, but there were really no very much accurate records. Though by 1492, the island was divided to 5 different chiefdoms, and the name for the entire island was Haiti. So then we get to the first European arrived there, and that was the Spaniards. Arrived in 1492 by Christopher Columbus. Initially, after friendly relationship, the Taino resisted the conquest, but eventually, the Taino population declined due to smallpox, measles, and other European diseases. But the Europeans actually colonized it in 1492. Originally broken the fort La Navidad in the fort, but the first major settlement here on the island was Santo Domingo, which we'll talk about later on. But it's Western Europe's first permanent settlement in the New World, and the Spanish used it to create a plantation-based economy on the island. And eventually, they brought lost slaves over from Africa to help. over the slaves. Enslaved Africans did lead to a first major slave revolt. However, after the conquest of the Aztecs and Incas, Spain neglected its holdings in the Caribbean. As well. And then, obviously, in the 1660s, the Anglo-Spanish War occurred between including the English Protectorate under Cromwell in Spain. The English fleet carrying about 346 warships arrived at the city of Santo Domingo, the main Spanish stronghold on the island, and the expedition was aimed to conquer Hispaniola. However, after several 1,500 casualties, the English forces retreated out of the island, and the Spanish got to keep their part of the Dominican Republic. Then in the 17th century, France sent colonists to settle on the island of Tortuga Island in the northwest coast of Hispaniola, and issues between the Spanish and the French ultimately was settled in the 1697 Treaty of Ryswick, with the Central Plateau remaining in Spanish domain, while the French take the western half of it, which created the modern-day Haiti. So after the House of Bourbon replaced the House of Habsburg in Spain and did economic reforms, the crown relaxed a lot of the regional controls and restrictions between Spain and her colonies. And with newer immigration from the Canaries, the island, Santo Domingo became even wealthier than it did before, leading to the growth on the island as well. However, during that time, however, there was also lots of racial tension, and it led to a slave revolt in 1804. In 1808, the Dominicans did revolt against the French colonial people in Santo Domingo, and the Dominicans annihilated Ferrand's army in close quarter combat. And eventually the French surrendered to the British and returned Santo Domingo to Spanish rule after the French tried to take it. However, things did not always go so well. Santo Domingo, then the Dominican Republic did get independence in 1821 after over a dozen years of failed plots. In 1821, Santo Domingo's former lieutenant governor, Jose Nunez de Cáceres, declared the colony's independence from the Spanish crown in 1821. However, that didn't last all that long. And that's because, well, unfortunately, you see, Haiti actually annexed the island. Yes, Haiti occupied the entire area for over 20 years, as the Haitians took over the entire land of the Dominican Republic. And due to this, the Haitian leadership, led by for example, Haiti's constitution forbade white leads from own land, and the Dominican major landowner families were deprived of their properties, as many immigrated to Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Gran Colombia. And as a result, the Haitian occupation was kind of rough. So eventually, the Dominican Republic again fights for another war of independence of Santo Domingo without foreign intervention, and eventually led to the Dominican War of Independence. As in 1844, the surviving members of La Trinitia, led by Tomas Bobadilla, declared independence from Haiti. And after over a decade plus of fighting, the Dominican Republic finally got independence from Haiti. And as a result, the Dominican Republic truly became independent. However, for the first couple of decades afterwards were filled with tyranny, factionalism, economic difficulties, rapid changes in government, and exile for political opponents. So again, like I said, like Haiti was in the beginning, very turbulent independence. However, eventually in 1861, things got so bad that that actually it returned back to Spanish control of the Dominican Republic. Yes, the Spaniards um got it back. And eventually that didn't last at all because 2 years later, well, the Dominican Republic again got independence from Spain with the War of Restoration. During the 19th century as well, they lost a lot of population to war than the United States by percentage. And then from 1902 on, short-lived governments were the norm, with their powers usurped by caudillos, which is throughout the country, as well as the country being bankrupt, paying its debt to European creditors. And as a result, they faced a lot of threats between France, Germany, and Italy. So, so the U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt tried to protect the American places from the Europeans under the Monroe Doctrine. And then the Americans also did go into the island after President Ramon Caceres was assassinated with great instability and civil war. The U.S. actually then occupied the Dominican Republic from 1916 to somewhere in the 1924 into 1922. Keep stability in the Dominican Republic. So, and then it was elected Horatio Baquez, who gave the government 6 years of stable governance with strong political rights in a peaceful atmosphere, which would give the Dominican Republic some sort of hope. However, things started changing in the 1930s when Vasquez won an election. His opponents rebelled under General Rafael Trujillo, and Trujillo eventually got to be the president after being unopposed due to a violent campaign, and he ended up being the dictator of the Dominican Republic for 31 years as the Dominican Republic's dictator. For example, there were some positive deals with it. For example, there was economic growth, though a lot of that wealth was taken by the dictator and other regime elements. For example, there was progress in healthcare, education, transportation, and more, as well as housing construction program, and even negotiated an undisputed border with Haiti as well, and debt-free. However, there was also a lot of torture, murder, and terrorist methods against his opposition as a dictator. He did side with the Allies during World War II symbolically. But eventually he was assassinated in 1961 by his own dissidents, and his replacement was under left was Jan Bosch, but then he was overthrown on September 1963. And eventually though, as well, and eventually the Dominican Republic was again in our civil war in Operation Payback, Power Pack. Ultimately, the Civil War ended, and eventually the revolution was won by Joaquin Balaguer and remained in power for 12 years with the repression of human rights and civil liberties. And eventually, though, he would be replaced um, by opposition candidate Antonio Guzman Fernandez. And then eventually, Bollinger once again became a puppet once again in 1986, and eventually he lasted all the way to 1996. Eventually, the Dominican Liberation Party won for the first time ever, and the country started to become much more democratic as well as a fast-growing economy, leading to new wealth in the Dominican Republic. As of now, the government currently right now is dealing through COVID and all that. And that is it for the history of the Dominican Republic. So yeah, a very interesting history. However, unlike Haiti, which we all know has had a lot of issues with governance and all that, the Dominican Republic historically has been much more successful in keeping its governance. So that's basically what we're doing. That's the Dominican Republic's history. I was going to this a little because I was expecting it. So yeah, flying with us is Kazaki Flyer. He's here today. Good to see you, Kazaki. I see you there in the G21. You also have Duracell KO as well. And then the other side is Kurno Knight. Good to see you guys here. Beautiful day here in the Dominican Republic. And if it's one thing about the Dominican Republic I like flying over, this island is absolutely gorgeous for some VFR flying. So yeah, I did have some thoughts about next week's streams. So next week, for our flight from Santo Domingo over to St. Kitts, we're actually not going to take the ATR for this one. I'm actually going to take the DC-6 for that one, since I haven't flown that thing in a long time, and I wanted to take the DC-6 out for a flight to St. Kitts. In fact, I might even just skip out and go into San Juan and just go straight to St. Kitts. So that's going to be next Friday's stream is going to be that, and then on Sunday I'll probably let you guys know when I pick Sunday, but probably take something a bit slower. And then finally for next Wednesday, I did some thinking. So I actually have a few ideas for what I can do Wednesday. I could do Pittsburgh to Detroit to Chicago, then to Green Bay. That is one option. The second option would be option number 2 would be to go back to New Zealand. I haven't done very much of it in a while. And do an ATR flight from Queenstown over to Nelson for the ATR. I haven't taken the ATR for a Firefly Airstream, so take it from Queenstown over to Nelson, which should be a beautiful flight. Or number 3, and I haven't done this very much yet. My number 3 would be a flight from Zurich over to Tibet in Montenegro. But yeah, I haven't done a flight like that in a while, so I think that would sound like be a pretty cool flight. Or actually number 3 instead of that, we'll do a flight across the Baltics in the 737. So we'll fly from Vilnius to Riga, then Riga over to Tallinn, and finally a short haul trip from Tallinn over to Helsinki, or to St. Petersburg, Russia. I'm leaning more towards either number 1 or number 3, because I mean, it'd be great to fly out Pittsburgh on another stream. On the other hand, I want to do some flying out of the Baltic nations. So we'll do Vilnius, Riga, Tallinn, St. Petersburg. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking towards for next week's streams. Yeah, the scenery here is absolutely stunning. The scenery here in this area is absolutely breathtaking today. It's just incredible. Just incredible. Hey, it took me a few minutes to get some caffeine. No worries, Kazaki. Let me give Kazaki Flyer a shout out. I wonder if he's going to be streaming today. He's going to be streaming later tonight on Twitch. I wonder if you've got something really cool planned for tonight, Kazaki. I know you always got something in it. So here's a shout out for you, my dude. Let's go ahead and talk about our first stop for today. At Puerto Plata Airport. Puerto Plata will be our first stop today. Puerto Plata. Ooh, go ahead and talk about that. Since we're getting very close to the city. Puerto Plata, the major coastal city here in the Dominican Republic. It is a major trade post. It also features resorts like the Playa Dorada, which is located east in the city. The city's rich history dates all the way back to the 16th century, when Spanish colonists found a small settlement in the region. And during its first decades of existence, the settlement was considered to be the main commercial and maritime port of the island. However, it was depopulated in 1605 and destroyed under Philip III to counter raids by English privateers, though it was later repopulated 100 years later by people from the Canary Islands. Then, in 1865, the current city has been built, and by the end of the 19th century, it's become an important area of the Dominican Republic for cultural, societal, maritime, and economic development. There's some really cool stuff to visit in the city. And like I said, the city has a really rich history. It also is unique in this area, as unlike other parts of the Dominican Republic, it's very much got a lot of Victorian architecture. As well as other styles give it a very unique character. But there's a lot of places for tourism. For one, there's lots of different resorts and hotels, and there's about 100,000 hotel beds in the city, and a number of all-inclusive resorts. There's even a cruise port in this area called Amber Cove, which I've actually been to plenty of times. And that's the gateway for a lot of cruise tourists into the Dominican Republic, is for Puerto Plata. But the main places you want to visit here in the city, there's the old Fort of San Felipe. So we will actually be flying over to the fort first. See if that's modeled in the sim. Oh, cool. You're going to be in the Aegean tonight. Oh, that's going to be really good. Kazaki, that's a great pick. The Aegean, that's a great pick. We'll definitely probably visit her. Crete, Athens. Nice. Nice. I want to do some flying over in Greece some point. There's the Fort of San Felipe that was built in 1540 to keep a lot of the city out of pirates. There's also an adventure park, including the largest man-made dolphin habitat in the world, in Ocean World. There is also the Teleferico cable car, which could carry people up to the top of a mountain, which is about 2,500 feet above sea level, and numerous various beaches. Wow. And some notable residents include current NBA player Al Horford, Luis Duarte, and former president of the Dominican Republic, Carlos Felipe Morales. So these are some of the people from Puerto Plata. And finally, the airport we're visiting today is Gregorio Luperon International Airport, Mike Delta Papa Papa. This is the main airport of Puerto Plata. It's the fourth busiest airport in the country, behind Punta Cana, Santo Domingo, and Santiago de las Calaveras. It was named after a Dominican military and state leader, Gregorio Luperon. Capable of handling planes of all sizes, it's benefited from being an area with many beaches, making it a very popular among charter airline passengers. It was opened back in 1979 to boost tourism in the region. It currently has a runway that's about 10,000 feet long. and it can handle up to 747-400 simultaneously. And this airport features a ton of routes to places like Toronto, Montreal, Miami, Charlotte, Frankfurt, Zurich, Provinciales, New York, Katowice, Warsaw, Moscow, Copenhagen, Stockholm. Yeah, a lot of people do fly in and out of this airport for the charter stuff. Also, fun fact, this airport is also a handcrafted airport from the sim. It's from the New World Update. It's one of the... Oh, yeah, have you ever tried... I hope you tried a flight in Hawaii yesterday. Oh, I did not fly in Hawaii yesterday, Kazaki. But yeah, I would definitely check it out too. I did a stream in Hawaii a long time ago. It was when the ETR first came out. I actually did some flights out of there. I did Honolulu to the newly handcrafted airport at the time, Ellison Airport in Kona. And then went back to Maui. Definitely a beautiful area. Shame though what happened with Maui with a forest fire. Good to see Echelon. I hope. Thank you so much for saying the kind words. Definitely appreciate it. But yeah. So a fun fact about Puerto Plata Airport. Well, it's one of the new handcrafted airports from the World Update. And if Sangster isn't the hub, I would say the other best option is probably this one. Because it's a handcrafted airport. Which is really, really good. And of course, we can do tons and tons of flights across Puerto Plata. So. Oh my gosh, it literally pushed your plane backwards? Wow. That's something. Oh man, that's crazy. The winds pushed you back? Wow. Yeah, the Dominican Republic is absolutely beautiful today. Like I said, this has got. I mean, and I think the one advantage the Dominican Republic would have over the one in Montego Bay would be, it's probably even better for general aviation flying than Jamaica is. Because well, Dominican Republic's the larger island with more airports. Also, for some reason, unlike the Sangster Airport, which for some reason doesn't have its procedures and little nav map, Puerto Plata doesn't have the same bug that Sangster has with the little nav map. Crazy. Yeah, we're pushing along with this trip. If everything goes well, by the time we end the day, we'll already be ready for South America. So if you look to the left, on our left is Amber Cove, and this is where they put the cruise ship terminal. There's Amber Cove. There's the tourist place here to Puerto Plata. Oh yeah, here it is. Puerto Plata. There's a couple of excursions here in the city. For a cruise ship, you can take sightseeing and beach. Discover downtown Puerto Plata. Heritage with lunch. Ocean World Park. It's a pretty area. And I also flew in here one of my streams as well to Puerto Plata. I did a whole stream to this airport too. It was actually it was part of the San Juan to Puerto Plata to Grand Turk stream a while back in the ETR. So there's also Coconut Cove Beach, Mountain View sites, Mega Truck Country Ride, waterfalls, snorkeling, catamaran, cabanas. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff here on this place right here. Hey, Iceman, good to see ya. Check out Iceman's stream here. I hope you're doing well, Iceman. We're about to make our first stop of the day here at Puerto Plata Airport. Mike Delta Papa Papa. I've been to this place quite a few times on my trips. I haven't checked out the city though, but I really want to check out the Dominican Republic at some point. It's a beautiful country in terms of scenery. So I hope you're doing well, my dude. Also, one more thing, guys. I will be having my birthday on Tuesday. Tuesday's my birthday, actually. But I won't be streaming on Tuesday, so I guess happy early birthday, Viperstrike 95. But man, if you guys were around Friday, Friday's stream was on Two Tone Murphy's channel. Friday's stream was absolutely hilarious. Um, so apparently Murph and the community messed around with AI voice text to speech with AI voices. Some of the ones just cracked me up. I mean, I did a few of them too. I did one saying there are two things more rubbish than a Skoda: Liverpool FC in Star Trek. Murph nearly banned my butt for saying that. Um, but there was some really hilarious one. Aquaman's donkey. What? Oh man. I mean, but I also think that's. Oh, no, 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 no. Hey, Boozy Sheep, good to see you. Um, Thank you so much, Boozy Sheep. I hope you're doing well, my dude. I know you're not feeling well today, but definitely check out his channel on Twitch. So let's show around Puerto Plata Airport. Yeah, and you told him you're everything. Yeah, I did tell him that too. So here, this is Puerto Plata Airport. Newly handcrafted. From the New World Update. So like, now if Sangster wasn't the main hub, I would be more than happy if this one became the hub as well, because it's a beautiful airport, Puerto Plata. So this is done by Gaia Simulations, similar to Sangster. So look what they got. They got modeled in cafeteria seating, model terminal buildings. This is the model terminal. Um, there's like the elevator case to probably get some of the doors and baggage. Very cool stuff. Like I said, they've been like, there's been a lot of these airports that have been stepping up quite a bit since when we got the first updated airports. But yeah, super cool. And like I said, just gives these airports a lot of character. But yeah, very, very cool. Sorry about that, Kazaki. I just got to take a picture for the Discord. Speaking of which, do check out my Discord. If you guys are so interested, check it out. It's where I put the beautiful airport. And like I said, I'm glad this got a nice update too. Like I said, it's definitely good. It definitely could be big enough for a Firefly air hub. And I guess the advantage of this airport over the one we had in Montego would definitely be, it's definitely better suited for general aviation purposes. It's got significantly more areas for general aviation people, but it's still great for the airliners to get in and out of. But I like Montego Bay just because it's just a bit larger of an airport. It feels more of a hub than this airport. But like I said, I still take Puerto Plata over most of the other Caribbean airports. So let's get back to our Beaver. You guys are more free to join with us. So for this next one, we're gonna have to climb to 11,000 feet. I'm gonna go ahead and go ahead and do this. Yeah, it's a really cool airport. Like I said, this would be a great place to put the BA to. Echelon, yep, you're taking out my boys. We're about to take off. Oh yeah, one more here. Here's a shout for Echelon too. He does a lot of first-person shooters here on his channel. Do check him out. Well, so our next city we're going to be checking out today is going to be the city of Santiago de los Calaveras. Um, so this city is the second largest city in the country after Santo Domingo and the fourth largest city in the Caribbean by population. It's also the largest city that's not a capital and the largest non-coastal metropolitan in the islands with a population of 771,748 inhabitants. It was founded in 1495 during the first wave of European settlements, and it was known as the first Santiago of the Americas. Today, it's one of the country's cultural, political, industrial, and financial centers. And due to its location in the fertile Cibao Valley, it has a robust agricultural sector with an leading exporter of rum, textile, and cigars. It's also been an historically important strategic city during the Dominican War of Independence. The name of the city, St. James of the Knights, refers to Hidalgos de la Isabela, a group of knights who come from La Isabela to stay in Santiago. So, pretty important city. It's got a rich cultural and heritage with lots of Victorian era buildings, as well as the city's tall structure on the Monument de Santiago. And it's the highest building in the entire country, as well as definitely lots of really cool stuff. Some notable people from here. Some of them include artists and musicians like Fernando Cabrera. Athletes. There have been multiple athletes from the city, but one of the most well-known people from the city is and that includes Edward Cabrera, as well as Johnny Peralta and Carlos Gomez. And Latin America idol Martha Heredia, for some notable people from the city. Pretty cool stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot. Things got 3 tanks. I was out of the front tank, so now switching from front to center tank. Well, if you guys want to know what I'm doing for the next couple days, I got some monthly schedules and some achievements to do. So Firefly Air, by the way, exclamation point, Foxtrot Alpha, FFA. Firefly Air, we got some new achievements on FS Hub. 3 new ones. We have the new monthly schedule out of Quito. We then have a Continental Airlines achievement, which was the airline that merged with United back in, I believe, 2010. Yeah, it was. But mainly they're doing flights out of Newark to quite a few destinations on their historic routes. And of course, the last achievement is a James Bond style achievement worked on by Nighthawk. He worked on this, but basically, You're recreating locations that were featured in some of the James Bond films. And you're basically going to do flying out of Ian Fleming International Airport in Jamaica, which, if you guys weren't aware, I said that back during our Jamaica stream, that Ian Fleming actually spent a lot of time writing his novels here in Jamaica. In fact, you could. In fact, I believe you could also stay in his villa. In fact, there you can actually stay in his villa, believe it or not. And that's his villa in his estate, which is Goldeneye, which is the estate. And it's actually now a 5-star hotel. And many people have actually stayed in that hotel, including heads of state, um, and international heads of states like Errol Flynn, Patrick Leahy Finmore, Princess Margaret, and Prime Minister Anthony Eden stayed at the villa. And also celebrities like Bono, Michael Caine, Pierce Brosnan, Harrison Ford, Johnny Depp, and Richard Branson. All celebrities who stayed here as well. But yeah, it is a pretty cool area, and there's even a website about this as well. But it is not cheap. According to the rates in 2022, they said in order to for a 5-bedroom stay at the villa, it will cost you from September 1st to October 31st, $7,000, which is insane. But yeah, how cool would it be to actually stay at the place where Ian Fleming wrote much of his Jane Bond's work? How cool is that? It's just too cool. I'm gonna go ahead and reduce the picture of the make. Yeah, some serious altitude here. And here's Santiago de las Calaveras. Pretty cool stuff. So, let's go ahead and talk about some more about the Dominican Republic while we're right here. Geographically wise, the Dominican Republic is definitely a very unique geographic area. For one, the Dominican Republic has got many mountains, including the highest peaks in the entire West Indies at Pico Duarte, which is about 10,164 feet above sea level. The country is home to 5 terrestrial regions. The moist forests of Hispaniola, dry forests, pine forests, wetlands, and mangroves are some of the main terrestrial regions located here in the Dominican Republic. Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, there's lots of mountain range. They got lots of different beaches and more, creating a very unique country for geographic landscape. And Pico Duarte is actually pretty tall point. It's actually also, in terms of peaks, it is actually the ninth tallest isolated peak in North America, the 14th most prominent one in North America, and the 79th most prominent peak in the world. Um, Pretty cool stuff. In terms of climate, the Dominican Republic is a tropical rainforest climate, and many of the lowland and coastal areas is pretty tropical. However, some areas, such as most of the central region, is a tropical savanna climate. And due to its diverse topography, the climate in the Dominican Republic actually shows a lot of variation um, in the area, and it's one of the most varied climates in the entire Antilles. For example, in the more mountainous regions, it actually gets surprisingly oceanic and temperate, whereas much of the northern is more tropical rainforest. The wet season on the northern coast lasts from September to January. Elsewhere, the wet season stretches from May to November, with May being the wettest month in the rest of the island. So, definitely a pretty cool thing to talk about. In terms of government, the Dominican Republic's government is a representative democracy with three branches of government: the executive, legislative, and judicial. The president of the Dominican Republic heads the executive branch and executes laws passed by Congress, appoints the cabinet, and is the commander in chief. President and vice president run for office in the same ticket and elected by direct vote for 4-year terms. The legislature is a bicameral legislature composed of a Senate and Chamber of Deputies. And the judicial authority rests with the Supreme Court justices and 16 members. And it currently has a multi-party political system with elections held every 2 years. So, definitely pretty important stuff. And then we got the economy of the Dominican Republic. Over the past 3 decades, the Dominican economy has transitioned from agricultural to a diverse range of services, from manufacturing to agriculture to mining to trade and more. The Dominican Republic services account for 60% of the GDP, manufacturing for 22, tourism, telecoms, and finance are the main components of the service sector. The Dominican Republic also has a lot of remittances, around 457 million dollars. And economic growth takes place despite energy shortage, blackouts, and high prices. However, long-term challenges for the Dominican economy mainly results from high unemployment and income inequality are major issues for the Dominican economy. That is something to keep in mind. But a big reason people love visiting the Dominican Republic is tourism. In fact, it is the most visited country in the entire Caribbean. It is the most visited destination in the entire Caribbean, and it makes sense for a couple of reasons. Number one, is definitely its beaches. The Dominican Republic has a crap ton of different beaches, all throughout the country. Um, Tourism is why the Dominican Republic's economy kept growing, because this place has a ton of tourism. Especially even grew even more during the 60s with Cuba having the revolution and all that. Um, and there's a lot of good reasons to visit here because there are tons of destinations, like tons of beaches, historic cities and landmarks, villages, colonial buildings, ecotourism. There is a lot to do in the Dominican Republic. And ecotourism has been even more important with places like Constanza and Jarabacoa are becoming very important tourist destination for as well. So definitely a very important area for a lot of people is um in transportation wise, in terms of um transportation is important for the Dominican Republic. There are three main national truck highways connecting every single major town. Um, Connecting each of the city here as well. And then there are also quite a few ports, mainly the Port of Santo Domingo, which is a very well-known port for cargo and infrastructure. There's also lots of ports, mainly for cruise ports and all that. But we also got to talk about airports, and there are 7 major airports and 31 minor airports in the Dominican Republic. The major ones include Las Americas International in Santo Domingo, Punta Cana International, which is actually one of the biggest airports in the Caribbean, Ciudad International in Santiago, Puerto Plata, La Ramona, El Cate International, and Maria Montez are some of the major airports, and they do lots of flights to North America, North and South America. So that is going to be transport. And finally, this Dominican Republic's flag carrier. I want to talk about their flag carrier, Arajet, which is actually pretty new. Founded back in 2014 as Dominican Wings, it became known as Arajet in 2021. Arajet is a ultra low cost carrier and the flag carrier of the Dominican Republic. Its first operations began on September 15, 2022, with a flight to Barranquilla, Colombia. They currently operate a fleet of 737 Maxes, as well as a 737 MAX 200 in the future. Um, so they operate the 737 fleet of planes. And the founder of this airline was Victor Manuel Pancheo Mendez, a Dominican businessman and entrepreneur, and wanted to build the airline to support tourism to and from the Dominican Republic. Pretty cool stuff. Like I said, it's a relatively new airline. Currently, RHF serves some of the following destinations. They're playing more, but they serve Toronto, St. Martin, Mexico City, and Bogota. Other places include Sao Paulo, Buenos Aires, San Jose, Costa Rica. In the future destinations they want to plan to fly to, they include Nassau in the Bahamas, Miami in Florida, San Juan, Puerto Rico, in Rio de Janeiro, and in Havana, Cuba. But like I said, it's a new airline, and thus definitely has some pretty interesting stuff to go for. I'm gonna take a break. So, in the distance here, we should be getting to Pico Duarte, the tallest peak here in the Antilles. This is stunning. This whole area. Yeah, I want to ask you guys. Hope you guys had some really fun times this weekend. I hope you guys had a great weekend and a bunch of fun. Yeah, the whole area is just stunning. So our next stop is going to be Constanza Airport, actually. Constanza Airport would be our our next stop, Mike Delta Charlie Zulu. It reopened in May 2006. It features in low mountainous terrain in all quadrants. It features airline services to domestic destinations in the Dominican Republic, including Barahona, Puerto Plata, Santiago, and Santo Domingo. We visited this airport before. It's a beautiful little airport. Here's Constanza down below us. Absolutely beautiful scenery here today, man. The scenery here in Dominican Republic is stunning. Hey, Planet Neutral, my dude. Good to see you, Planet Neutral. If you guys haven't checked out Planet Neutral, a very, very close friend of the community, I hope you're doing well, my dude. We're in the Dominican Republic right now. We're touring around for our around the world trip for all countries. And we're now we're doing the second of the 3 lakes here today. We started back at Cape Haitian, made our way to Puerto Plata, then making our way through Pico Duarte into Constanza, and we're gonna prepare for the last leg over to Santo Domingo. Should be a really nice final leg. So yeah, I hope you got some really cool plans today. I know today might have been one of your streams. here it is, guys. Our second stop of the day. Constanza Airport. Absolutely beautiful airport. I'm gonna go ahead and make the landing here. A little bit rougher, but yeah, this is Constanza Airport, guys. Mike Delta Charlie Zulu. Absolutely beautiful little airport. So, guys, if you want to join along for the third and last leg of the flight, exclamation point info will give you the routes and information for this trip. This is a group flight, by the way. My chat thing disabled. It is ATC bot is unavailable. Had to reintegrate the Twitch integration. Now the bot's name. Let's do it one more time. Info. Thank you. There you go. So now we got the info, and now we got the plane. So, so guys, let's go ahead and if anyone else does not want to join, let's go ahead and get the last leg of the trip completed. The last leg. For the first part of the leg, we're going to climb to 9,500 feet. However, we're going to descend afterwards. And cheese up. Yeah, just checking the fuel gauge here for this beaver. So the beaver still got a bit of half left in the middle tank. So let's go ahead and I'm going to finish up some of the rest of the Dominican Republic. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of the slides for the Dominican Republic. Let's start with the culture of the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic culture is extremely deep. Thanks to its unique synchronism, it has a European cultural basis heritage, influenced by both African and Taino elements. It's actually among the most European countries in Spanish America, alongside Puerto Rico, Cuba, Argentina. As Spanish institutions were able to predominate the Dominican culture, create a pretty unique, more European-esque culture compared to some of the other Caribbean nations. In terms of visual art, Dominican art is mostly well known for being bright, vibrant colors and images that are sold in nearly every tourist shop in the country. However, it has a long history of fine art that goes back to the middle of the 1800s, when it became an independent and national art scene emerged. Historically, the paint at that time was around images connected to independence, historical scenes, and portraits, still life. Between 1920 and 40, it was influenced by realism and impressionism, and Dominican artists were focused on breaking from previous academic styles to focus more independent styles of art. For example, in terms of literature, the Dominican Republic has brought a lot of different varieties in literature styles of writers, and saw an increase in Dominican literature. Writers such as Juan Bosch, one of Latin America's great storytellers, Pedro Mier, who is the national poet, and Ada Cardienga Portoladin put the island as one of the most important literature during the 20th century, with tons of great works. In the 21st century, even though they may not achieve the renown of their 20th century counterparts, that being said, there were still some successful writers like Frank Baez and Juano Diaz. Led Dominican Republic literature into the 21st century. Pretty cool. In terms of architecture, it features a complex blend of different cultures, including ornate design and Baroque structures from the Europeans, best seen in Santo Domingo. And the whole colonial zone is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There's also significant influence from the Taino people, from their use of mahogany and guano to put together crafts, artwork, furniture, and houses. And lately, nowadays, with the rise of tourism, architects have now begun to incorporate cutting-edge designs that represent luxury. With, in many ways, an architectural playground, villas and hotels implement new styles while offering new takes on the old. So, bring some pretty unique architecture here in the Dominican Republic. In terms of Dominican cuisine, the Dominican Republic is primarily Spanish, Taino, and African in origin. It's similar to many other Latin American countries in terms of cuisine. Meals tend to favor meats over starches, and many dishes are made with sofrito, which is a mix of local herbs and used as a wet rub for meats and sauteed to bring out the dish's flavor. Some of the favorite Dominican foods include chicharron, which is fried pork belly or pork rinds, yuca, which is the cassava, tapioca, casabe, which is tapioca, empanadas, known as pastillos, and chimichurris, which is a traditional snack sandwich, very popular here in the Dominican Republic. But there's definitely a wide variety of different Dominican Republican dishes in the Dominican Republic. Musically, the Dominican Republic is known for the world popular music style genre called Marancho, which is a type of lively, fast-paced rhythm dance music, about 120 to 160 beats per minute. As well as featuring musical elements like brass, corded instruments, and accordion, as well as some instrumental elements unique to the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, like tambor and guira. Bachata is another popular one that originated in the countryside, and as recent years has become quite popular, with many of its subjects being known for romantic, like heartbreak or sadness. Um, but of course, the last thing is sports, and sports are a central part of the Dominican Republic and have been played since the native inhabitants. By far the most popular sport in the Dominican Republic is baseball. Baseball's had a huge impact in the Dominican Republic since the 1960s. Since the 1950s and 1960s, baseball was first brought onto the island when the Marine Corps occupied it during 1916. But baseball really grew, however, once not only Cuba isolated itself, but also in the 1980s, and brought in a ton of baseball players. The Dominican Republic has its own baseball league, the Dominican Republic Baseball League. 6 teams between October and January. And after the U.S., the Dominican Republic has the second highest number of overall baseball players. The first Dominican baseball player was Ozzie Virgil Jr., Ozzie Virgil Sr. in 1956, but there have been many famous people from the Dominican Republic who play Major League Baseball, including 3 Hall of Fame, including 5 Dominican baseball players in the Hall of Fame: Adrian Beltre, Vladimir Guerrero, Juan Marichal, Pedro Martinez, and David Ortiz were the Dominican Republic players in the Hall of Fame. But there are also a few other notable players, including Jose Bautista, Nelson Cruz, Manny Ramirez, Sammy Sosa, Juan Soto, and future Hall of Famer and definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer, Albert Pujols, who will definitely be in the Hall of Fame as soon as he gets on the ballot. Outside of baseball, other sports include boxing, which has produced scores of high world-class fighters like Carlos Cruz, basketball, and volleyball are other major sports here in the Dominican Republic. And now let's talk about some pretty fun facts about the Dominican Republic. So, a lot of people, here's some interesting facts. Number 1, hey, you gonna see a flyby? Welcome on in. Good morning to you, my dude. So here's a shot for Flyby to TV. Check out his stream here on Twitch. We're doing the Dominican Republic today. We're just teaching people how to explore this really interesting region. So here's some fun facts. Number 1, if you ever watched the movie Jurassic Park and noticed there was an amber stone with the prehistoric mosquito, well, that is fossilized tree resin. And that same tree resin was actually now on display at the Amber Museum in Puerto Plata, because, well, that's where they found it from. Pretty cool. Number 2 fun fact, it's the site of the oldest European settlement in the Americas, Santo Domingo. Here's another one. If you guys ever watched the movie The Godfather Part 2, if you notice the Cuban Revolution scenes when they did the Cuban Revolution stuff, but what if I told you it wasn't filmed in Cuba? It was actually filmed at the Presidential Palace in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And finally, And finally, unique to the Dominican Republic is the alcohol drink called Mama Juana, which I tasted it before. It's made of rum, red wine, honey, tree bark, and herbs. And it's even such a well-known drink that it's even considered to be an aphrodisiac, improving the performance in the bedtime. Every time. In terms of landmarks, outside Santo Domingo, there are a few really cool Dominican Republic landmarks, including the Altos de Chavan in La Ramona, featured recreation of a 16th century Mediterranean style village, featured a cobbled streets in to see the amphitheater, Florento Plata's Fort San Felipe, and finally the Monument de Santiago, the tallest building not just in the city, but it's also the tallest building in the entire country. So that was some pretty cool stuff. So, now we have, and finally, let's get to Santo Domingo. This is where we're going to end up for our final stop. Santo Domingo, the oldest continuously inhabited European settlement in the Americas. It is also the largest city in the Dominican Republic and largest metropolitan area in the Caribbean, with the metro population being 1.02 million people, but the metropolitan area is around 3.8 million people. It was founded in 1496. Is the oldest continuously inhabited European settlement in the Americas, and the first seat of Spanish colonial rule in the New World. And it also features the site of the first university, cathedral, castle, monastery, and fortress in the New World. It's so much well known that the colonial zone is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Previously, from 1936 to 61, the city was actually called Ciudad Trujillo, named after himself, of course, being a dictator and all that. Thankfully, it was brought back to its original name after its assassination. It is the cultural, financial, political, and industrial center of the Dominican Republic. The city's motto is Ciudad Primada de America, First City of America, which is definitely a fitting name for this. And I mean, there are a lot of really cool places in the city to visit. There's a ton of landmarks that are worth visiting. And one of the really cool places to visit in Santo Domingo, there are a ton of them. Many of them are located here in the colonial zone of the city, and there are a ton of them, including the Alcazar de Colón, which dates back to 1510. It's the oldest viceregal residence in the Americas, and the palace itself was the center of the Spanish court for 60 years, as well as serving the headquarters for the Spanish conquest of Mexico, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Guatemala, Peru, Florida, Colombia, and Jamaica. This is where they did a lot of their conquest and planned it out from here. Another Santo Domingo landmark is the National Pantheon, which was built in 1714 and then in 1416. It did a wide variety of venues, like a warehouse and theater. But there are a bunch of other landmarks here in the city. But there are a lot of other landmarks here, and that includes some of the colonial landmarks, including Basilica Cathedral of Santa Maria la Menor, the first cathedral of the Americas, the Altar of the Nation, the tomb of the founding fathers of the Dominican Republic, There's the Memorial Museum of the Dominican Resistance, dedicated to honor the struggles against the Trujillo and Balaguer regimes. And in the oldest church of the New World, the Church and Covenant of the Dominican Order. All of that within the colonial era. And finally, for our final stop, is Las Americas International Airport. This is the main international airport of Santo Domingo. This airport was founded all the way back in 1959 as the official airport of Santo Domingo. The first flight here was with Delta Airlines, with nonstop flights to San Juan and Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Eventually, also doing flights to Houston, New Orleans, Cuba, and all that through the 50s. But this airport currently is one of the busiest airports in all of the Caribbean. It's the second busiest after Punta Cana, handling 3.5 million passengers in 2015. In 2022, it handled 4.6 million passengers. But it has a ton of different flight services across the Caribbean, in North America, Caribbean, and Europe. It flies to nearly all corners of the Americas, plus Europe. And here's a list of a few different destinations this airport serves, including Mexico City, Paris, Madrid, Miami, Buenos Aires, Cancun, Cartagena, Curacao, Guatemala, Kingston, Lima, Montreal, Quito, San Jose, Costa Rica, Toronto, Sao Paulo, Frankfurt, Atlanta, New York, Orlando. Yeah, it just goes on. Airport service, a ton of destinations. Yeah, that is about it, everyone. That is the Dominican Republic slides. Yeah, Las Americas is also what I consider to be one of our Caribbean hubs. If Puerto Plata didn't get updated, I would consider Las Americas just because of its significance with the Dominican Republic. So yeah, I got my Dominican Republic t-shirt with me. This is the Dominican Republic flag and t-shirt, so I wore that today for this trip. So guys, a massive thank you for all you guys joining with me today. Thank you all so much for joining with me. Awesome stream today. I mean, I had a bunch of fun. we finally arrived at Santo Domingo. Yeah, it's a huge city, as you can tell. This is Santo Domingo. Very historic city, definitely a place you definitely want to check out here in the American. What was this? I just got a notification. Oh. I wonder what the schedule is going to be for this week's streams for Murph. I wonder what he's going to be doing. I know he's going to be back to doing the Gauls here. Yes, the Romans would have been all done for us. Let's check out Santa Domingo. I think I see a few of the colonial era landmarks. We're mainly gonna try and fly around the old colonial square. We're gonna check out the colonial. We're gonna just fly over briefly over the colonial square. I guarantee TTS would break him, but he might turn. I think he's good. Yeah, hey, good to see you, Nerd Bark. Yeah, the Believer in the Beaver. Yes, the Beaver is still a great plane. I still love flying this Beaver in the simulator. So right in the middle is the Plaza de la Bandera down below us. But the main area we're going to try and fly to is the colonial area, which is where you find lots of the colonial era scenery. We're going to fly around the old colonial era because this here, don't let the Praetorian guards make him crash. Oh, I remember that. That's fun. I rewatched the stream. Oh, that's fine. Some of the insane text read stuff. I think he's gonna probably turn it off. I think he's definitely gonna turn it off for Wednesday, but he's mainly gonna keep it for Friday. So I'm mainly just probably what I'm gonna probably use that text speech thing for is probably for my research stuff. So that way the whole check instead of the research. That's what I'm gonna use the text speech thing for, the research purposes, not making any sense. Santo Domingo. There's also a sports arena. There's also an arena over here. Yep, look at that. There's the palace, I believe, down below us to our left. There's the presidential palace. Yep, it is the presidential palace of the Republic. And right in the center of this is the Faro A Cologne. This is a lighthouse monument. This here is the old colonial area right here. There's the Faro de Cologne. Right there. So that is Santo Domingo, everyone. That's definitely very cool. The update added some really cool stuff. So, what a beautiful trip, guys. I really, really, really enjoyed this stream. I mean, scenery in the Dominican Republic is absolutely stunning. So many great areas to visit between beaches, mountains, rainforests, and historic cities. This area has it all. So we're going to land here at runway 17, and we'll make a parking here at Las Americas International. To wrap up the stream, Well, let's go ahead and prepare for landing. Go ahead and turn off the autopilot. Prepare for the landing here at Las Americas. Yeah. And Gonzaga's down. Nice. So guys, this is it. This is the end of our stream here in the Dominican Republic, everyone. Um, Thank you all so much once again for another great stream. So guys, thank you all so much for day 9 of the Around the World trip. It's great having you guys here once again, and thank you for everything. So guys, we're gonna prepare for the raid. We're gonna go ahead and check out Angry One Horn today. So guys, thank you all so much. We'll be back on Wednesday. I'll let you guys know what we're doing on Wednesday. And then of course we'll be back on the Around the World trip on Friday we're gonna take the DC-6 all the way from Santo Domingo all the way to St. Kitts. So guys, thank you all so much. And I hope to see you again on Wednesday. Take care and have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Bye.